You're listening to the Empowering Process Podcast with your host, Gail Kraft. Listen as she holds frank discussions around how your purpose, being present, and trusting your power impacts your life. Whether you're an entrepreneur, leader, or developing your vision, you'll find wisdom and insights you can utilize right now. Welcome your host, Gail Kraft.
Hello, everybody. Gail Kraft here from the Empowering Process Podcast. So glad that you're here with me today because today we're going to talk about personal power. And you know that purpose, power, and presence is what this podcast is all about. So, of course, it's appropriate that maybe we should be talking about these things. So, today is about personal power. There are a variety of different types of power, this positional power, and we're not going to get into the psychological clinical terminology of power. We're going to talk about you. We're talking about what does power mean to you? What does power mean in this podcast series, right? And it's power, not force. And yes, there's a book, Power versus Force, one of my favorite books. I go to it frequently. But it is about having this sense of knowledge, this knowingness of who you are that brings an air of certainty and strength to your decisions and to your presence, right? And to your purpose, right? So it's very important that you take the steps to understand who you are, warts and all. And none of us are perfect. We all have our little idiosyncrasies. If I said that right, we all have these personality traits that makes us who we are, makes us so different than the person next to us. But we also all have this power within us. And we've either embraced it or suppressed it, or for most of us, a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B. So we've embraced it, but maybe not fully. So we're going to talk about some of the things that you can do to get into a better sense of who you are and accepting it, right? And so the first thing is to first of all acknowledge your ambitions and say them out loud. I want to. I see myself. Declare it to the world, because if you don't do that first, you've already started suppressing. You've already started this feeling of unworthiness. Because I don't deserve that, right? How dare I dream that big? How dare you not dream that big? This year, my word that I'm living by this year is unapologetically declaring that my intention is to travel. My intention is to be in front of you wherever you are, to bring a message that maybe will resonate with you or someone you know, to bring enlightenment, to show that anything is possible if you truly believe you deserve it, not believe that you can make it or believe that it can happen, but believe that you deserve it and be unapologetic for it, to declare it. This is who I am. This is what I'm doing. And that's just a fact. And there will be naysayers, and there will be people who will try to convince you otherwise. And there will be people watching, waiting for you to fail. And that's okay. You're not going to apologize. You're just going to do it, right? So, first of all, declare it, right? And then start focusing on your life. Are you living a healthy life? And when I say healthy, I'm not just talking about the food that you eat, and you don't have to be a vegetarian. You don't you, whatever works for your body, definitely eat in a way that is congruent to you, but eat in a healthy way. Exercise in a healthy way. Get some fresh air in a healthy way. Treat others in a healthy way. Treat yourself in a healthy way. Have healthy relationships with you and others. Have healthy relationships with food. Have healthy relationships with money. Have healthy relationships in your career. Everything outside of you is a relationship. In fact, everything within inside of you is a relationship. How congruent and healthy is it? And then focus, right? There are ways to practice focusing. Of course, one of them is meditation, right? If you can focus for 10, 15 minutes on a sound, on a word, on a vibration, on your breath, on a scene, on a feeling, then you're learning to focus. But there's this other training of learning how to focus, which is a physical focus, which also opens up your mental focus. And I'm going to tell you how to do it right now. So pick a spot on the wall, a little teeny weeny spot on the wall, and you stand there and you take a look at that spot and just focus on that spot. That's right, focus on that spot. That's right, keep focusing on that spot. And as you focus on that spot, be aware that there's something going on in your peripheral vision. Focus on that spot, but you have focus on the spot. That peripheral vision, open it up a little wider. Guess what? You're aware of that, but still focus on that spot, right? Your peripheral vision is a little wider, but you can still see it and focus on that spot. And a little wider, and you can see it and focus on that spot. And keep doing that every day, again, for 10 or 15 minutes. And what this will do with your focus is to get you physically focused and, believe it or not, mentally focused and expanded. Is that weird? It works. Try it. Focus. Self-development is also another tool for personal power. I have been working on myself since I was 21. Yes, I slowed down. There were times when my focus was working, raising a family, right? Living in suburbia, whatever. That was my focus at the time. And then I came back to focusing on me again. So meditation, lots of self-development, took a break, a hiatus, and came right back to it because that's where I belong. And there's not a year that has gone by in over a decade, and actually longer than that, but definitely focused on self-development because there's always something more for me to learn. There's always a different perspective. And what I think is true, I can go and take a class and take some training and work with someone and find out that their perspective is true to them. And if I can look at life from their point of view, I get a broader perspective as to what's going on in this world. I get more tools and more capabilities to make different, more impactful decisions because I have broadened my scope of who I am. That's a personal power. The broader my scope, the more sure I am of who I am. And there's strength and power in self-development. And then there is this word called responsibility. And there's two sides to that coin. I want to talk a little bit about accepting responsibility and responsibility. Accepting responsibility, I really call that accountability, right? If you do it, own up to it. You made a mistake, that's fine. Own up to it. And what are you going to do to make it better? Fortunately, my business career for the majority of the time that I was in corporate America, that's what I heard. Gail, you messed up. What are you going to do to make it better? Yep, you're right. I messed up. I realize it. And here's what I'm going to do to fix this and prevent that in the future. So fix it. Future actions now going to be different. That means there's a lesson. So there's nothing wrong with a lesson. Lessons are awesome. That's taking accountability. If you don't take accountability, you will repeat and repeat and repeat, and you'll be harming others as they're trying to pick up the mess that you left behind. Now, there's responsibility, and I look at that as your ability to respond to a certain situation, right? And we talk often about not making decisions from a bad state, right? Anger, sadness, fear, shame, guilt. Not a good place to be making a decision. How able are you to respond in an appropriate way when you are in those emotional states? You're not, right? So you need to have the ability through personal development, self development, to recognize the state that you're in and take the tools you've learned to get out of that state, right? And the quickest way, Tony Robbins will attest to this, the quickest way to change a state, an emotional state, is to change your physiology. It's the quickest way. And so if you stand with your feet apart, shoulders length apart, put your shoulders back, head up, not down, right? Not even level, but up. Breathe in and breathe out. You can't cry. You can't be sad. You actually can't be angry. If your head is up, shoulders back, and you're breathing in and you're calming deep, deep, deep breaths and calming your body down. Once you calm down, then you're in a position where you're able to respond probably in a much better way, making conscious choices rather than reactive choices. This is personal power, guys. What is personal power? And one of the most confusing for some folks is forgiveness, the ability to forgive. Forgiveness is not condoning. Forgiveness sets yourself free, right? Forgive yourself for being in a situation that may not have been healthy for you. Forgive the other person for not having all their wires together, right? Their wires may be crossed, to have done some physical, emotional harm to you, maybe both, right? Understand that they're who they are. You're not going to change them, but you can forgive the situation, forgive yourself, get rid of that guilt that you're carrying for thinking you're responsible for any of this. Love yourself and move on. Forgiving doesn't mean you have to remain with them or accept that something did not happen. It's not sweeping it under the rug. It's looking at it, having a conversation with that person about what were you thinking? Were you even thinking? And why did you think this was okay? It wasn't okay, but I forgive you for you being so messed up at the time to have done this. And I forgive anyone that supported it, anyone that turned a blind eye to it, and then move on. Just a few steps, guys, to talk about what it is to you could do to step in to this personal power. Because personal power is just knowing who you are, and the knowing, those of us who have come to a certain level of this personal power understand when I say it's just a knowing. You can't put a word to this experience because it just is. And there's a peace to it, there's a quietness to it, and there's a strength and power in that quietness. So personal power is not loud. It doesn't scream, and yet it does. It is strong. It is steady. It is purposeful. It is in the present. And your personal power is the biggest gift that you can give yourself in this lifetime. I certainly hope this has helped some of you. Maybe you've gotten a couple of tools, a couple of things that you can practice doing to become more engaged with who you are and step more into the power that is yours. And I want to thank you for your time. If you enjoyed this, please comment and share it out. If you know someone who might also enjoy it. And if something came up for you during this conversation, please let me know. I'd be happy to discuss whatever came up in another podcast. In the meantime, here's to your life, your purpose, your power, your presence, and the empowering process. Gail Kraft says goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the Empowering Process Podcast. Be sure to visit Gail at gailkraft.com to learn more about how she serves thought leaders, entrepreneurs, and goal seekers. And remember, if you like this broadcast, be sure to share and subscribe so you don't miss an episode.